I just got a um, email, not an email, a comment on one of my YouTube things on how can I tell whether a nib is going to be flexible or not, and how can you? I'm talking to you, or you, or you, or you. How can you tell? Well, sometimes you can tell because it says so right there on the nib. Some nibs say flexible, some nibs say semi-flex, some don't say anything, some say rigid and manifold, and they might say other things that are equally descriptive of what the nib is going to be like. Um, accountant, when it says accountant, and many companies made accountant nibs, not just Waterman, but Parker and uh, Waterman, and I think Wall Eversharp might have made them. Um, they mean very fine usually, and they're almost always going to be relatively firm. But let's say they don't say anything. I don't know if we're going to get a new storm or not. Let's let's pretend that the nib doesn't say anything. In general, the nib looks like this, sticking out of the pen like this. And let's just have a dotted line there. Generally, if a pen has a short distance between the point and the breather hole, the shorter distance usually means firmer than broader, than more flexible rather. If this breather hole is way back here instead of up there, it'll spread more. So that'll be rigid. Usually the shape of the nib is also longer. You know, it's not blunt like this, it's angled down. And this is going to be down here somewhere. So that's generally the further back from the point, the more flexible it can be. It doesn't always turn out that way, but it can be. For example, this one, looking at this nib, I was surprised when it did not flex as much as I thought it would. It only does that, but it looks like it would be broader than that. So I sometimes will see a nib on eBay and I'll say, oh God, that looks like it's going to be really, really flexible. And I get it and I dip it in ink and I try it out and it's not. And that saddens me if I have already come up with a fantasy about that nib. There are other pens, other ways that I generally can predict whether a pen might have a flexible nib. If it's a Waterman, chances are it's going to be more flexible than if it said Schaefer. Waterman pens tended to be more flexible. It's just what they were into. Wall Eversharp pens were all over the map. I sometimes have no way of knowing what a nib is going to write like because they both look, they might look very similar, but one of them will be flexible and the other one won't be. Just by looking at them, I can't always tell. often a flexible nib. If you get a side view of a pen, if the width of the nib seems like it's fatter, thicker, it's going to be firmer than one that is thinner. So that's really all I can tell you. If you, I mean, I can tell you more if you want to know more, but there, Triumph nibs, 99.9% of them are going to be firm. It's just the way they're built. Parker 51 nibs, 99.9% of them are going to be not very flexible because they can't. The nib hits the top of the shell and they can't spread out any further. They're just built differently. So there are certain models of pens that will have firm nibs. Parker 75s, they're almost always firm. Again, the way the pen is built, the way the nib is built, makes them firm. If it's a regular nib, though, okay, I've got a whole pile of nibs here. If it's a regular nib that looks like this, looks like that, this one seems, this I bet would be firm, and it is. The breather hole is pushed way up. This one, it's slightly, the shape of the nib is slightly different. It's still very firm. So far, this will be firm. This is firm. These are all firm. Where's a flexible one? Do I have a flexible one here? No, these are all firm. This is about the most flexible that I've got here in this pile. And it's not very flexible. So we're having a storm. Gary Scott, I haven't been paying attention. God, this one you could pound into the wall. But if you just look at these two side by side, trying to line up the points. You see that there's like the breather hole in this one is almost the length of the breather hole further down, further back. So that's one way of doing it anyway, is to check the breather hole. Those prognosticators. I want the prognosticators to be procrastinators, and I don't want them to tell me until the week is completely over what happened the day before. I'm getting 3 pens in the mail today. Or 2 pens maybe. A Waterman and another Waterman and Schaefer that I don't care about. And I don't know if I'm getting another pen or not. I can't remember what's coming in today. So I'm sure I'll be back for another visit with you guys. And I'm hoping my rose colored glasses that I was wearing when I was bidding on those pens were correct, because one looks like it will be flexible. They both look like they'll be flexible. They're both Watermans, so my chances are good. And so we'll see if I'm right. Okay, bye-bye.